Hello, so I've been here in Manila in the Philippines for just over a week now, and unfortunately have spent the last few days in bed. I caught some kind of sickness bug. A lot of the communities that we're working with, a lot of the children obviously have a lot of different kind of colds and diseases, from TB to Hep A and B, and so I'm very grateful for all of the many injections that I had before I came, but my body's very unused to these kinds of germs, which has meant that I've come down with a bug. Apparently it's very normal. Apparently this is something that often happens when you're working in these communities for the first time. So that's comforting at least. One of the things that has really struck me out of this time though, which obviously can feel a bit frustrating because I've come all the way around the other side of the world to work with these communities, and I've ended up spending the last few days in bed, feeling pretty miserable and being looked after. But that was one of the things that was so beautiful, is they have such a wonderful sense of community and drawing around people at times when they've got sickness bugs or illnesses. And so I really felt like I got to experience that. I've had people make me soup. Many different people from the community that I've only been working with for just a week have actually brought me medicine, have actually just come to visit and wanted to fetch ice or water or fans or blankets, depending on what they thought, if I was too hot or cold. And that's just been a really beautiful thing for me, to feel so immediately a part of the community and so cared for. That's been really wonderful. Just also, it's been really interesting to kind of have that time to process through some of the things, because those of you who know me know that I've done work in other countries before. I've worked in Macedonia, which is the poorest country in Europe, and I've worked in Israel and the West Bank a little bit as well, in hospitals out there. And yet nothing has really prepared me for the intensity of the poverty in the slums here in Manila. It's really a different level, and they've really, in a way, kind of shocked me. I think just the decades deep kind of poverty that's here. But what's amazing is the kind of understanding from the local people about their own situation is not at all how we might view it from a Western eye. So from my perspective, I've taught in schools and I've taught in churches and communities back home with children. And there are so many resources. You have people coming in, we have toys, we have kind of craft tables that would just amaze the children here. And kind of comparing that, it's been really shocking, and I have to say, in some cases, really upsetting to see kind of 3 or 4-year-olds who have been malnourished and kind of already have diseases that are going to be terminal. That's really touched my heart, and yeah, been really upsetting. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that I'm having that reaction, because it should be upsetting. These are things that are really hard to see, and really hard that they exist in the world that we live in. I think it's amazing to be able to come alongside a team that is so dedicated to bringing joy and laughter into an environment like that. One of the questions that I did have though, that I've been kind of working through, that I asked my team leader, was, why are we not running feeding programs? Okay, it's wonderful to do kind of singing and storytelling, and I love that we're bringing life and laughter to these streets, but why are we not running a feeding program? And I've learned that that's a very Western kind of ideals prioritized point of view of the world. So certainly in my kind of priority view, from what I've been taught, I'd definitely have kind of basic needs like food and shelter at the top, and kind of community and culture would come kind of later on down. But because this is a different culture, and this is a kind of much more people focused rather than task focused, actually what's important here is that people feel loved. And I've begun to see so much more value in that too. So probably why I got a cold, but when we go into the communities a few days ago, there are 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and we're picking them up and just hugging them, holding their hands, and they're so desperate for it. They're clawing at you, and they're really wanting to have that physical contact. They're craving that physical intimacy, and that's really important to their development as well, that they're getting that, which they perhaps wouldn't be getting from their own parents or from adults around them. So in a way, that is just as important to feed that aspect of their life. That kind of physical affection is also really important, so that they know that they are loved and that they know that they are precious. And that's been beautiful to see. My team leader actually described it to me like this. She said she was working in a community that's kind of native to an area kind of south of Manila called Calapan, and there they had a very rich Singaporean kind of worker who'd come to visit the work that they were doing with the tribes, and they were going behind, and this woman who was from Singapore obviously wasn't used to kind of heavy physical labour, so she was following behind an older man. They were planting rice, so you sort of have to bend over, and it's very hot here, very hot, so bending over and planting each rice seed in the tracks. And this much older gentleman kind of turned around after about 15-20 minutes and looked at her, and she was just absolutely exhausted from this, just not used to it at all. And she said, "I'm so sorry, I'm just not used to this. We don't have any rice fields back where I'm from." And he looked at her and he was just like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You must be so poor that you don't have even a few fields to grow your own food." Now, to her perspective, to her mind, the education that she had, the opportunities that she had, that was her wealth. And obviously coming from a rich, wealthy country as well. And yet to him, to not even own a few rice fields to be able to grow his own food, that was how he was measuring his wealth. So I think it's really interesting to kind of widen that perspective of what we think of as poverty. And I know that that's what's really kind of been going through my mind in the last few days. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts as well on maybe where your Western or non-Western priorities of wealth are, and what we can kind of rethink about where we're valuing and where we're placing our value in life. Thank you, and I hope you have a good week.